Hello, today we're going to explore one of our unique features included as part of Tektronix's TekExpress DDR5 and LPDDR5 testing solution, the User-Defined Acquisition Mode. Typically, with automated compliance testing solutions, most of the acquisition setup on the actual oscilloscope hardware is handled in the background. You might get a couple of options to tinker with inside the automation framework, but a user's direct control is usually restricted or non-existent. With the User-Defined Acquisition Mode, or UDA for short, a user is empowered to influence every detail of their oscilloscope setup while still working within the automation framework. Let's take a look. Initially, let's do a quick run through without UDA, and then we'll enable the feature to further refine our acquisition setup. For this demonstration, we'll be taking a look at some LPDDR5 write clock measurements using a signal generated by one of our AWG 70000 arbitrary waveform generators. You can see the write clock present on channel 1 here. First, we'll expand the Analyze menu at the top of the scope's UI and launch the TekExpress DDR TX software. The application will launch in a standalone window. If you're unfamiliar with our TekExpress solutions, what we're looking at here is the interface through which we configure our automated test setup. We have a step-by-step process of configuring tests, which are numbered here on the left. I'll now quickly set up the software for a test session. I'll select LPDDR5 for our device type, name our .id, and make sure the appropriate speed is selected. Then I'll move over to our Test Selection tab and select our write clock measurements. Next, in the Acquisition tab, this is what will tell our scope how we physically connected to our signals. In this case, I'll have the write clock on channel 1. Finally, I'll double check the Configuration and Reports tab to make sure everything is set up as I've intended. At this point, I've really quickly gone through an example setup, and we're ready to start taking data by hitting the green Start button on the upper left of the user interface. Now we'll see the automation software take control of the oscilloscope. It'll start with a default setup, and then configure the scope with an auto-set routine to maximize our acquisition settings for the selected measurements. Let's give it a second to complete the acquisition and analysis. That was a pretty easy process to get some initial results going, but next, let's enable UDA and customize our acquisition setup. Our starting point will be where the auto-set procedure left off. Let's make some adjustments. First, I'll go into the vertical setup menu and apply a bandwidth limit at 16 GHz. Then, I'll head over to the horizontal and acquisition menu and change the sample rate to 100 gigasamples per second, adjust the record length to 100,000, and enable high-res mode. We're also able to adjust our triggering setup. Here, I've changed from the default edge trigger to a pulse width trigger as an example. UDA also offers the capability to perform analysis on custom math channels. I'll move over to the Math Setup menu and add a filter to our Channel 1 waveform. Today we'll use one of our pre-built filters. Now I'll go back over to our TekExpress window, head back into that Acquisition Setup tab, and select the Math 1 channel that I've just created as our measurement source. Finally, I'll quickly alter the report generation settings so that this run is appended to the last report rather than generate a new one. Now let's hit the Start button again and take a new round of data and measurements. To recap, we've adjusted our sample rate, record length, bandwidth, trigger settings, and applied a math transform to our write clock. All of our analysis will now occur within the configuration we've just defined, and we can still launch the test procedure off using the TekExpress automation framework. While this was just a teaser, I hope I was able to show you that with UDA, a user gets access to all of the powerful acquisition setup tools present on our Tektronix performance oscilloscopes, re-enabling the power for direct setup control even when using an automated solution. Thanks for watching.